We are going to be examining 50 technical questions in government in preparation for the forthcoming UTME. I'll take it again. 50 technical questions in government for 2024 UTME. Roll with me. The first one, the inverse of democracy is dash. When we say inverse, inverse means opposites. So, what is democracy? Democracy is a system of government in which citizens exercise their governing power, either directly or through elected representatives. A one-time US president, Abraham Lincoln, while delivering the famous address, he described democracy as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So who are those that govern under democracy? The people, majority of the people. So democracy has to do with popular participation and popular consultation. So what is the opposite of such a system of government? What is the inverse of such a system of government? The inverse would be oligarchy. While democracy is government led by many persons, oligarchy is government led by few persons. Let me attempt a definition of oligarchy. Oligarchy is a system of government in which political, governmental, and administrative power is vested in the hands of few persons. So the inverse of democracy is what? Oligarchy. Now to the next question. Mobocracy means dash. Mobocracy, from the word mob. Mobocracy has to do with government led by the mob or the masses. It looks as if it is similar to democracy, but it is technically different because mobocracy can only exist in theory. It cannot exist in reality. Can the mob rule? If the mob is involved in ruling a political entity, that will lead to anarchy because the mob cannot actually govern a country. There has to be some specific persons that will govern on behalf of the people. Democracy affords for such thing, but mobocracy does not afford for such. So I'll take it again. Mobocracy has to do with government led by the mob or the masses. Now to the next question. Secession means dash. In government, particularly under federalism, secession has to do with when a part of a country breaks away from the larger part of the country. I'll take it again. When a part of the country attempts to break away or succeeds in breaking away from a part of that larger country, that is called what? Secession. Secession happens to be what the eastern part of Nigeria attempted in 1967 when Colonel Emeka Odumegwu announced the breaking away, the secession of the eastern part of Nigeria, otherwise known as Biafra, from Nigeria. It led to the Nigerian Civil War, a war that lasted for 30 months between 1967 and 1970. Biafra, the eastern part of Nigeria, was led during the war by Colonel Emeka Odumegwu, while the federal government was led by General Yakubu Gowon. Now to the next question. Retroactive law means dash. When we say retroactive law, it means backdated laws. You know, when a law is promulgated today and backdated to take effect from an earlier date, that is called retroactive law. Now, under which system of government can we come across retroactive law? It can obtain, and it is obtainable under dictatorial regimes, under despotic regimes, under tyrannical regimes, under fascist regimes, authoritarian regimes, totalitarian regimes, Nazi regimes, and above all, under autocratic regimes. You know, retroactive law is also one of the peculiar features, characteristics, and attributes of military regimes. So now to the next question. Sedition means dash. While treason refers to, you know, the greatest crime against a country, attempting to bring the government of your country down, you know, sedition has to do with, you know, inciting rebellion and insurrection against your country. So sedition has to do with, you know, encouraging and inciting, particularly through words. They could be through written words or through spoken words. So when you verbally or through written form, incite citizens to disobey their country, to go into insurrection or rebellion. Such a crime is referred to as what? Sedition. Now to the next question. Human rights are also called dash. Human rights are also called personal liberties. They are also called freedoms. They are also called privileges. So is either we say fundamental rights, fundamental liberties, fundamental freedoms, and fundamental privileges. Is that clear? Now to the next question. The major personal liberties are dash. The major personal liberties are dash. We have the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to dignity of human person. According to Thomas Hobbes, right to life, right to liberty, right to dignity of human person. While according to J.J. Rousseau, right to life, right to liberty, and right to security of human property. So those are the three essential rights. Under republicanism, sovereign power resides with the dash. When we say republicanism, what does it mean? It is from the word republic. And what is a republic? A republic is a state that is ruled by an elected citizen. I'll take it again. A state ruled by an elected citizen is a republic. Is that clear? Now, you can also say a republic is a dispensation in which citizens freely elect their leaders. So any dispensation in which citizens exercise franchise, otherwise known as suffrage, and given the ample opportunity to decide who their leaders will be, such a dispensation is known as what? Republic. And such system of government is called what? Republicanism. Is that clear? Now, under republicanism, mind you, republicanism is also known as indirect democracy or representative government. Is that clear? So, who are those that possess and exercise the greatest power under republicanism, under representative government, and under indirect democracy? So those that exercise sovereign power, they are the voters. They are also known as the electorate or the electors. Mind you, JAM can be very technical. So if you must search for voters, electorate, or electors, but in the absence of those three options, you can now opt for people, masses, or citizens. Now to the next question. The major purpose of a state is dash. According to a Greek philosopher named Aristotle, the major purpose of a state is to promote good life and happiness, and that is the welfareism. The major purpose of a state is to do what? Promote good life and happiness. Now to the next question. In the Oyo Empire, judicial functions were carried out by the dash. In the Oyo Empire, the Bashorun, alongside the other councillors, they were known as the Oyomesi. They functioned as the lawmakers, the legislators. The Alaafin functioned as the head of the executive. Are you getting now? He was a political head, the executive head, and the traditional head. While the Ogboni, the court group, functioned as the judicial arm of the Oyo Empire. The Ogboni carried out sacrificial duties, ritual duties, and so on and so forth. Now to the next question. Court orders, which have the force of law, are called dash. They are called injunctions. So court orders which have the force of law. Mind you, a court order differs from a judgment. A court order can be granted while a case is ongoing. Are you getting now? But a judgment is the finality of a case before a court of law. So a court order which has the force of law is known as injunctions or writs, and they must be obeyed. So examples of court orders are writ of habeas corpus, writ of certiorari, writ of mandamus, prohibitive writ, and writ of quo warranto. Now to the next question. Nigeria's first ruler to function as head of state and head of government was dash. The only system of government that allows one person to function as both head of state and head of government, that is presidentialism. Under presidentialism, also known as chief executive system, or unicephalous executive, or monocephalous executive, or single executive, the same person who is the head of state also functions as the head of government. Now, the same person as head of state carries out ceremonial functions and titular functions. While as head of government, if it carries out executive functions, real functions, administrative functions, and governmental functions. So when did Nigeria start practicing presidentialism? So much that we can now have the same person as head of state and head of government. That was in 1979. So by virtue of the 1979 federal election, which brought in President Shehu Shagari, the executive president, Shehu Shagari, functioned as both head of state and head of government. So Nigeria's first ruler to function as both ceremonial head and executive head, as both head of state and as head of government, was Alhaji Shehu Shagari, and he governed Nigeria between 1979 to 1983, popularly referred to as the Second Republic. Mind you, in case a question is asked that who was the deputy, the vice president of Alhaji Shehu Shagari, the vice president was Dr. Alex Ekweme. Now to the next question. Nigeria's first ruler to function as both ceremonial head and nominal head as an indigene was Dash. Now, this is a very technical and tricky question. So we have to take it bit by bit, one by one, part by part. It says Nigeria's first ruler to function as both ceremonial head and nominal head. Now, a ceremonial head is also a nominal head. Is that clear? So the head of state is the ceremonial head. The head of state is also the nominal head. The head of state is also the titular head. So that head does not have any real function, does not have any executive function, does not have any administrative function, does not have any governmental function. Is that clear? So it is still the title of head of state. So we are now being asked that the first person to function in that capacity as an indigene, was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Between 1960 and 1963, Nigeria's head of state was the Queen of England, while Nigeria's head of government was the Prime Minister, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And as Prime Minister, Balewa was the executive head, and he performed executive functions, while the Queen was the ceremonial head. The Queen was represented by an indigenous Governor General. But by virtue of the Republican Constitution of 1963, the Queen ceased to be the head of state of Nigeria. She ceased to be the person performing ceremonial and nominal functions. Now, it was now vested in the hands of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe to carry out ceremonial, nominal, and titular functions as the head of state of Nigeria. Mind you, at that the head of government or the executive head was a Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Now to the next question. When obedience and compliance is secured, not through coercion, compulsion, and force, it underscores the concept of Dash. I'll take it again. When obedience and compliance is generated not through coercion, compulsion, and force, that is authority. It is not gotten by force. It means it is legitimate. It means it is given by the people in a free will manner. It means it is according to the law. It means it's according to the desires and the yearnings of the populace and the citizenry. Is that clear? While power will coerce, it will compel, and it is about the use of force. Authority is not about compulsion. It is not about coercion. It is not about the use of force. Even if force will be used under authority, it will be used in a way that is according to the law. While power is about naked and arbitrary use of force, authority is about legitimate use of force. While power is about coercion and compulsion, authority is about legal right, about persuasion, about moral right, about legitimacy. So now to the next question. The 1964 federal election was supervised by Dash. Now, the 1964 federal election was organized by an electoral body called FEC, FEC, Federal Electoral Commission. Now, who was the head of that electoral commission? Dr. Eyo Eswa. So if the question was asking for the electoral body, FEC, Federal Electoral Commission, if the question was asking for the head of the electoral body, it was Dr. Eyo Eswa. Now to the next question. Citizens are politically acculturated by the state through dash. Citizens are politically acculturated by the state through dash. You know, when we speak of culture, culture refers to the total way of life of a group of people living in a particular place at a particular time. So there could be diverse cultures, there could be religious culture of a people, political culture of a people, and so on and so forth. But when the desire is to make people acculturated politically, to imbue and invest in them a type of culture that aligns with a political narrative, with a political pattern. What does it mean? So citizens can be made to know the culture of politics. See, I'm trying to rephrase the question now. The question says citizens are politically acculturated through that. So citizens can be made to learn about the culture of politics. Citizens can be made, to acquire the nature, the ideas, the beliefs of politics. Citizens can be made to learn the norms and the values of politics. All these can be possible only through a process called political socialization. And what is political socialization? It is the lifelong process of learning, acquiring, transmitting political beliefs, political values, political norms, political skills, political attitudes, political affections, political orientations, and so on and so forth. So the process by which citizens can be politically acculturated or made to learn about politics, made to have the culture of politics is through political socialization, otherwise called political education. Now to the next question. Greek city-states were not unfamiliarly called dash. Now that's double negative. Not unfamiliarly means if we cancel not and we cancel un under unfamiliarly, we are left with Greek city-states were familiarly called dash. So they were popularly, familiarly, and regularly called polis, P-O-L-I-S. In ancient Greece, we had diverse states, we had diverse cities. The city of Athens was the capital. We had the city of Sparta, the city of Rhodes, the city of Syracuse. We had the city of Thessalonica, the city of Corinth, and so on and so forth. So these different cities in ancient Greece, they were called polis. Now to the next question. Wealth is the yardstick for the inverse of the governed under dash. Now, before we answer the question, let us attempt to pick it bit by bit. Inverse means opposite. So the inverse of the governed means opposite of the governed. The opposite of the governed would be the government or the governor or the ruler. Is that clear? So wealth is the yardstick for deciding who rulers will be under dash. That happens to be plutocracy, which was propounded by a Greek philosopher called Plato. He described plutocracy as a type and a form of government that vests political power in the hands of few rich or few wealthy persons. So what was the basis for having access to political power under plutocracy? It was based on wealth, based on riches. Is that clear? Plato believed that only those who have become rich, only those who have become wealthy, and only those who have accumulated personal resources, only that category of persons can be trusted with political power, in the sense that personally they've conquered greed. So by the time they are vested with political power, involved in materialism and converting the resources of the state to personal aggrandizement. Now to the next question. Budget is also called dash. Budget refers to the proposed income of a state and proposed expenditure. What a state intends to realize monetarily in a year and how they intend to spend what they realize is called budget. Which organ of government prepares budget? Budget is prepared by an organ of government called the executive. Is that clear? Executive. Now, which organ of government will approve budget? It will be approved by the legislature. Otherwise, it's called plenum or parliament. Is that clear? So what is another word for budget? Budget is also called money bill or appropriation bill. Now to the next question. Ultravirus means dash. In the Latin phrase, ultravirus means beyond a given scope, beyond permitted purview. So when somebody acts ultravirus, such a person has acted beyond the constitutionally granted purview, constitutionally granted responsibility. The person has acted in excessive manner, such that such an excessive manner now terminates to illegality. So this has to do, and it relates to a function of the judiciary called judicial review. The judiciary has a constitutional duty to act as a watchdog on the legislature and the executive. How that if any action of the legislature or the executive does not align with the constitution of the land or does not align with the constitutional duties of such organs of government, the law empowers the judiciary to review such an action, such a law, such an order, and declare it such inconsistent, illegal, ultra-vires, null and void, unconstitutional, and so on and so forth. Now to the next question. Politics is a social science because it's dash. We have different types of sciences. We have natural sciences, we have agricultural sciences, we have biological sciences, but in the field of humanities, we have what we call social sciences. Any field of learning, any field of study and endeavor that studies man, that studies the behavior of man and how he relates with others in the society and the society at large, such field falls under which type of science? Social sciences. So politics, government, and political science, they all fall under social sciences because it studies man, his behavior, and his relationship with others, how he acts politically. Now to the next question. Who wrote the book titled Leviathan? Leviathan was written by an English philosopher known as Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes is the father of the Hobbesian theory. It was Thomas Hobbes who declared that if there is no law or agency to regulate the affairs of the people, the state will degenerate into a primitive society where life was poor, it was short, it was nasty, it was solitary, and it was what? It was brutal or brutish. Is that clear? Now to the next question. The economic ideology shared by both UK and US is dash. UK is capitalist, US is capitalist. And we have diverse economic ideologies. We have feudalism. Actually, feudalism is outdated, it is moribund, it is defunct. We have capitalism, we have socialism, we have communism, and we have mixed economy. But the type of economic ideology and system that is practiced by both US and UK is what? Capitalism. What is capitalism? Capitalism is a political and economic model which does what? Which gives citizens and individuals the opportunity to control the means of production, distribution, and exchange. So who are those that control the means of production, the factors of production under capitalism? Individuals. Is that clear? So capitalism gives room for the society to be stratified, to be divided, such that we have class division, we have class nomenclature, we have class stratification, such that we have the upper class and the lower class. Is that clear? The upper class under capitalism are referred to as the bourgeois, also known as the manufacturers, the entrepreneurs, the producers, the industrialists, the exploiters. While the lower class under capitalism consists of the proletariat. The proletariat are also known as the exploited, the peasants, the workers, the laborers, the exploited, and so on and so forth. Now to the next question. Vatican City as a country is located inside which Italian city? Now we have to know that Vatican City is a country. Particularly, it is the seat of the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. Is that clear? It is the country where papacy or papal government is practiced. Is that clear? Papacy or papal government has to do with government led by the Pope, who is the head of the Roman Catholic Church, cardinals, and nuncios. Is that clear? So it is practiced in which country? Vatican City. But Vatican City is located right inside another country. It is located inside Italy. Which city in Italy? Located inside Rome in Italy. Now to the next question. Which system of government is similar to UK and Saudi Arabia? That has to be monarchy. Monarchy is similar to UK and Saudi Arabia. Is that clear? Now to the next question. Habeas corpus means dash. I'll take it again. Habeas corpus means dash. Habeas corpus is a court writ or injunction, a court order, which directs the police or prison officials to do what? To release a detained person and declare and convince the court why such a person should not be released forthwith. I'll take it again. A court order mandating that a detained person should be released and that the police or prison officials should convince the court why the person should not be permanently released. It's known as what? Habeas corpus. Can you now observe that habeas corpus preserves citizens' liberties? Is that clear? Habeas corpus, guarantees that citizens are not illegally and unjustly detained. Is that clear? Now to the next question. Who was the immediate governor general for Nigeria before Nnamdi Azikiwe? Nnamdi Azikiwe became the governor general of Nigeria in 1960, and he was the governor general from 1960 to 1963. He was the first indigenous governor general representing the Queen of England. Mind you, before independence, we have governor generals that are also representing the Queen. But all of them, right from the consul generals, people like Tubman Goldie, John Beecroft, people like Lord Lugard, people like Clifford, people like Bernard Bodilon, people like Cameron, people like Richard, like Macpherson and Oliver Lightington. They were all British governor generals. But towards the tail end of colonial rule in Nigeria, another governor general was appointed, known as Sir James Robertson. He was the last colonial governor of Nigeria before Nnamdi Azikiwe became the governor general of Nigeria in 1960. Now to the next question. From each according to his dash, and to each according to his dash is a feature of dash. This is communism. In 1848, two German philosophers, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, published a book titled Communist Manifesto, where they wrote on capitalism, socialism, and communism. They actually wrote on capitalism to denounce it and reveal the ills and failures of capitalism, and then to expand, to explicate and advocate for socialism, which will ultimately lead to what? Communism. And communism has to do with a collective or common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. I'll take it again. What is communism? Communism refers to a collective or common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. So under communism, from each according to his ability, the government will demand from each according to his ability and give to each according to his need. Is that clear? I'll reiterate. Government takes from each according to his ability and gives to each according to his need. Now, this is a peculiar feature, characteristic, and attribute of which economic model? Communism. Now, communism was propounded by who? Karl Marx. In which year? 1848. Alongside who? Friedrich Engels. Mind you, after the death of Karl Marx, who popularized communism and who actually practiced it in his own country? It was practiced by a Russian politician and philosopher known as Vladimir Lenin, V.I. Lenin. Now to the next question. Class stratification is a feature of which economic system? Like I said earlier, class stratification is also known as class nomenclature or class division. It is a feature of capitalism, how that the society is divided into two economic classes. the upper class known as the bourgeois, and the lower class known as the proletariat. Now to the next question. Legal authority is also called dash. We have three types of authority. The first authority is traditional authority. The second authority is called legal rational authority, which was written on by a German sociologist called Max Weber. Max Weber wrote on authority and legitimacy. So legal authority is the type of authority that is possessed and exercised by elected officials. So the type of authority that is possessed by people like parliamentarians, like elected officials, like presidents, like governors, is called legal authority or political authority. Is that clear? Why the last type of authority is called personal authority? Personal authority is also called charismatic authority or individual authority. Now to the next question. An elected member of the legislature, sorry, I'll take it again. An unelected member of the legislature is dash. You know, the legislature consists of elected officials, people who represent diverse constituencies and districts. But there is a particular person who sits with parliamentarians and legislators, yet he is unelected. Such a person is known as the clerk of the house. So for the Senate, we have the clerk of the Senate, clerk of the House of Rep, and at subnational levels and state levels in Nigeria, we have the clerk of the House of Assembly. So he's an unelected official who sits with legislators and parliamentarians. Now to the next question. The dash ensures discipline in the legislature. It is the duty of the whip to ensure discipline in the legislature. It is a title and an office, you know, for the majority party and the minority party. So we have majority whip, minority whip. It is the duty of the whip for each category of parties to ensure that their members are present in the legislature. They don't miss deliberations and debates, and to also ensure that parliamentarians and legislators, they vote on issues according to party directives. So it is the duty, the obligation, the function, and the responsibility of the whip. Is that clear? Now to the next question. The most senior civil servant in the legislature is the dash. The most senior civil servant in the legislature is the clerk of the house. You know, is an equivalent of a permanent secretary. Is that clear? And he draws his remuneration from the consolidated fund. So he's the most senior civil servant in the legislature. He is unelected, yet he sits with legislators and parliamentarians. Now to the next question. Decisions are stamped in the legislature through an object called dash. We have about two objects in the legislature. We have an object called mace, M-A-C-E. The mace is the symbol of authority in the legislature. If the mace is absent, legislators cannot sit. Is that clear? So it is a symbol of authority that dictates, that gives a sitting credence. Is that clear? So then we have another object that is used, held, possessed by, and exercised by the presiding officer of the legislature. And it is called gavel, G-A-V-E-L. It is like an hammer. It is hammer-like in shape and hammer-like in structure. So when the presiding officer puts a bill or something to a vote, you know, it will ask those that are for to say aye, and those that are against to say nay. So if the ayes are much more than the nays, the presiding officer will stamp the gavel and say the ayes have it or the nays have it. So that structure that is used to stamp in the legislature is called gavel. So now to the next question. Government exists chiefly to dash. Now that question is asking for the main function of government, the basic function of government, the primary function of government, the fundamental function of government, and that is to maintain law and order. Will the government provide social amenities? Yes. Will they provide transport facilities? Yes. Will they provide jobs? Yes. But which one comes first? The primary purpose of government, the primary function of government, it is to do what? To maintain law and order. Now to the next question. A political entity exists primarily to dash. A political entity exists primarily to promote good life and happiness. Now, what is the difference? A political entity is a state. Mind you, if you consider the definition of a state is a politically organized group of people occupying a definite geographical territory under an organized government, free from external control, with permanent status, with sovereignty to regulate the conduct of its citizens without external control, without external interference, without external intrusion, without external intervention. So a state is a political entity. So if you are asked for the primary function of a state, it is to promote good life and happiness, while the primary purpose or function of government is to maintain law and order. Now to the next question. An influence that springs up from personage and personality is that. Mind you, in government, authority is also known as what? Influence. Is that clear? Authority is also called influence. There are certain key ways that are associated with authority: legal rights, moral rights, persuasion, influence, legitimate use of force. Is that clear? But the type of authority that one can exercise just because of his personality, that is charismatic authority or personal authority or individual authority. It takes you to occupy the office of a traditional ruler, to be a monarch, for you to exercise traditional authority. If you are not an elected official, you cannot exercise legal or political authority. Just by being yourself and because of your gifts, your charisma, your talent, are you getting your skills, the things you can do? Maybe you can write, maybe you can sing, you can wield influence and authority that people can also respect you and obey. Is that clear? Now to the next question. The dash encodes the rules governing relationships over citizens and rulers. That is the Constitution. Is that clear? It is the Constitution that encodes. When something is encoded, it is put down in codes. Codes could be alphabetic in nature and it's also be numerical. So when anything is scribbled, it is encoded, put down in codes, and such codes will govern the relationship between citizens and government. That is a constitution. A constitution refers to the fundamental body of laws, the basic laws. Are you getting me now? The guiding principles that stipulate how a country is to be governed. Is that clear? So that's a constitution. The lexicons and intentions of rulers are loudly of the lexicons and intentions of rules. I'll take it again. The lexicons and intentions of rules are loudly and clearly explained by the dash. That question is asking you for the institution that interprets the Constitution. When something is ambiguous, when it is not clear and it is causing discord and friction, where do we run to? The judiciary to interpret the Constitution, to make it clear, to make it explain, to explicate on it, to make it lucid, to make it perspicuous. So which institution, which organ, which pillar of government is responsible for interpreting the Constitution? That is the judiciary. And the last 4 questions here, it says, list 4 South American political entities. This question is asking you for 4 South American states. We have as many states as possible in South America. We have Brazil, we have Peru, we have Bolivia, we have Ecuador, we have Venezuela, we have Paraguay, we have Uruguay, and so on and so forth. So with these 50 questions or thereabout that we've been able to attend to and deal decisively with, I hope you guys have been better energized with knowledge to be able to face the forthcoming UTME and blast it and get the best score that is available. Thank you and have a great day.